the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. My name is Brian Wallace, and I am the MS Michigan Man 64. The MS Michigan Man 64 podcast is about chronic disease awareness. I have had multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. It's an invisible chronic disease that I've been battling for half of my life. I want to share with you what it is like living with the chronic disease from my experiences and the experiences of other chronic disease warriors. We can fight to have a voice to those that want to listen. Together, we can motivate and educate. Hi, welcome to today's podcast. Today, I have another MS warrior with me. I met Maria back in around 2013. Her son and my son actually went to the same high school, Padua Franciscan High School in Parma, Ohio. And I was coaching at that time, and I was pretty mobile, self-sufficient. I didn't need a cane. I didn't need a walker. I was living life pretty as normal as I could. And I'm coaching at Padua, and after practice one day, I had a lady that came up to me, and she introduced herself as Maria, and I was coaching her son, and she had just gotten diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and she was pretty scared about it, and then, I had a long conversation with her, and we just kind of grew into a friendship, and so I'm going to introduce you. This is Maria. How you doing, Maria?
Hi, Brian.
It's great having you on the podcast today. I am so happy that you are my first guest because I would never have had it any other way. You're another warrior just like me, and I love talking to you, and especially when we talk about multiple sclerosis.
Absolutely. I'm a warrior. We're tough as nails.
Yes, we are. So take us through when you first got diagnosed, because I know I've had it a little bit longer than you. And just kind of explain what your symptoms were and, the thoughts that were going through your head at the time.
Oh, sure. Well, the first time I realized there was something wrong was shortly after I gave birth to my second son, Gregory, in 2000. I started to fall down the stairs for no reason. So I would carry the baby sitting down step by step because I was so worried about it. And it turned out that was the beginning of my drop foot. And I guess, according to the doctor, sometimes the trauma of childbirth can bring something on like that sort of was laying low within your body.
Uh-huh.
So that's when I first found out I had an issue. I went to an orthopedic doctor who told me there's nothing wrong with my foot. I went to a spine specialist who told me there was nothing wrong with my spine. I should be able to use my foot. And it seemed like all of the doctors were so kind of separate in their little niche specialty that nobody put it together.
So did you ask your primary care physician about it, or were you just going to specialists at the time because you were having a problem with your foot?
My primary care doctor, because it was drop foot, sent me to a foot specialist because it was my foot.
Okay, so they didn't even have MS wasn't even in the thought when you first went to your primary care physician from the symptoms that you were having.
No, Brian, it took me 12 years to get a diagnosis, and by going on WebMD and typing in, what can cause drop foot, and a whole list of stuff came up, and I slowly went through it, and when I landed on MS, I checked almost every box.
Wow.
So that's when I approached my doctor, and my doctor just sent me to get the MRI immediately, and boom, it was MS.
And
so
that And that took 12 years to do that, just to get an MRI ordered on your head with having all these episodes or all these symptoms of MS.
Right. I fell down the stairs at least 20 times. Oh,
Oh my
each
God.
time all the way down the stairs.
My God, Maria, that's just, oh my God. Yeah, that's just such a different path than me. When mine started, it was like a 10-month process. And I couldn't imagine going through that, what I went through in 10 months for 12 years without an answer. That's just unbelievable that you couldn't get an answer. So when you first got diagnosed, were you relieved?
When I first got diagnosed, I was ecstatic because for 12 years, I've got these problems. They're creeping up on me. There's not just the drop foot, but, other things I started to notice. And I had no recourse. There was nothing I could do to make it better because I didn't know what it was. So once I got diagnosed, I was pretty ecstatic to the point where they suggested I see a psychologist because this is not a happy diagnosis. But Brian, I mean, the relief that you finally know you're not crazy,
Yep.
that there is something wrong and it's really bad and you're not delusional.
Yep.
It's like a joy.
Yeah,
But
exactly. I can go back to when I got diagnosed in '97, and when Dr. Joe Hanna, actually a Padua graduate, when he diagnosed me, I just looked at him and I like had a smile on my face. And I was like, okay, great. Now we know what it is. Now what are we going to do about it? I mean, it was such a relief that somebody finally gave me some kind of an answer.
Well, it's very helpful because then, you can start looking at what other people have done. Like, I think the first thing I did was run out and get that Terry Walls book where, she wrote about how she cured herself.
Yeah.
But it's kind of impossible because the road she takes is so unrealistic for the average human being.
Right.
Like, growing everything yourself. And,
Right.
right. Yeah, there's no way I could get my husband to do that for me.
Right.
And I'm not going to be able to do it for myself. So, you just have to seek other little ways of figuring more out, like the food panel. I didn't know my hearing wasn't because of the MS. My hearing issues were because I was having inflammatory issues.
Right.
But the same with my bowels. Oh my God, my bowels were so uncooperative. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Maria. It's the same thing with me. A lot of it depends.
I'll tell you, Brian.
Go ahead.
What made it better was that food panel. When I eliminated the wheat, I was able to normalize a little bit so that I wasn't panicking every time I went outside.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of tools that we use to try to fight this disease from day one. So I got diagnosed with relapse remit. What was your diagnosis when you got that news?
Oh, well, I was one of the lucky ones. I just segued right into primary progressive. And I think that made it difficult for everybody to diagnose because mine doesn't ever wane. It's always full on.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of, sometimes it's a little worse, but it's not like relapsing remitting. I mean, you guys go from having it to not having it.
Yeah.
Which is harder to deal with, do you think? I always felt that relapsing remitting was so much harder to deal with because you have those moments where you're normal. But I'm kind of liking what I have.
I did have moments that I was quote unquote normal, but I was never like my baseline normal. Like when I first had my episodes and my eyesight went, blurry and double vision, it came back, but it came back with me not being able to wear contacts anymore. I had to go to glasses because they started having to put prism in my lenses. So every time I would have an episode, like usually every 12 to 18 months, And every time it was my eyes, they would get a little bit worse, a little bit worse. So that's the way it's not, it's like a relapse remit, but I never went back to the way I used to feel. It's always been like, okay, you get smashed in the stomach, it takes you out, then you bounce back up with the Solumedrol a little bit, but you don't come back right back to where you were, if that makes sense to you.
It does. You know, I haven't really tried a whole lot of different medications. I believe it or not, Brian, I'm keeping myself on my initial dose of everything. Um, I've backed away from a lot of the drugs because I asked the question to, the neurologist or whatever doctor's giving me this medication. I go, will it cure my MS? They say no.
Right.
Then I don't want it. What I'm trying to do is get to the cause of the MS. Like, what am I doing to keep it happening? Because like that Dr. Terry Walls, she was able to get hers to go away.
Right.
So
right.
there's something I'm doing that's keeping this ball rolling. And honestly, I won't rest until I figure it out.
I know
But
you
what I
won't.
do know is what I do know though is if I stop looking, then I'm just going to be dependent on, band-aids to cover up the symptoms, but never getting to the cause.
Right.
I don't know if I'm being stupid about it or if I'm being smart about it.
No, I don't
But
think
it makes no sense.
I don't think it's stupid. So you're not on a DMT at all?
Nope.
Wow.
The only thing I'm on is gabapentin. I'm on Wellbutrin because they have emotional issues with them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm on Effexor, so I mean that's pretty common with us MSers that we are diagnosed with depression. So that's nothing new, really.
Well, honestly, I cried for 3 weeks straight, and I couldn't figure out why. I mean, I'd be laughing at something on the TV, and tears would be rolling down my face. And it took me 3 weeks to figure out that I needed an antidepressant for no reason other than, like, I couldn't understand why this was happening.
Right. Yeah, I know. I understand exactly what you're saying, Maria. So when you got diagnosed, you had 2 kids at the time, right?
I had two. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you were, yeah, because I remember you telling me that you already had your first son, and then you had your second one, and then you got diagnosed, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So did you work before you got diagnosed? Were you like a stay-at-home mom, or were you working, or how did that work for you?
Well, it almost happened. Well, no, it didn't almost happen. It happened not by choice. Stephen, my older son, was born about 11, 12 weeks early, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a level 2 brain hemorrhage. And I had to drive to the hospital for a month to see him and drive back home, always in tears, of course. And finally, he was allowed to come home with me, and it was wonderful. And then that's the son that is going to be a neurologist.
I know it.
So
I am so proud of that kid. I'm proud just to say that I coached him for 1 year when he was a freshman before my MS started going south. Such a great, and when he told me he was going to be a doctor back when he was in 9th grade, and now to find out he's going to be a neurologist and his mom has MS, that's just such an unbelievable. You just have to be the proudest mom in the world.
Oh my God! Just get me talking about him, and I'll change the subject and talk about only him.
Yeah, that's all right. You can be proud.
My other son is in New York now, so he does vocal performance. So we're going to see how he breaks into the industry.
Yeah, he'll be all right. I know.
Well,
I've seen him perform, Maria. He's got talent. He'll get a break somewhere.
Yeah, but there's one of those in every high school. It's sort of like football. The funnel gets so small.
Yeah.
with the people who actually make it.
Yep. No, that's true. But you got to go after your dreams, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you know, back to the the kids. I was really blessed. My MS, I have the drop foot forever. Honestly, the boys for Christmas got me a Maggie Simpson doll because that was pretty much how I walked.
That's funny.
But um, I was blessed. It didn't really get very, very bad until Steven's first year of high school when you met him.
Okay. Yeah,
Then
that's
I think,
when you were just getting diagnosed. Yep.
yeah, but I mean, I've always been so grateful. Look at God gave me those really formative years where they really needed me and allowed me to do whatever I needed to do. And then when they didn't need me anymore, when they got to high school, to you, it was okay for me to let other people, teach them and take them.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I understand that.
So I feel blessed. I mean, it does it stink? Yeah. Do other people's problems stink a little more? Probably. So I'm okay with what I have.
You are just an inspiration to me because, like I said, when I first met you, you had a cane in your hand, and by the time both of our sons graduated, I was using a cane, but you were using a walker and sometimes a wheelchair, and then I ran into you about 4 or 5 months ago, and I saw you get out of your car, and you were walking towards me, and you didn't have a cane, you didn't have a walker, and I was just like, wait a minute, is that Maria? And then when I did a double when I did a double take and I saw it was you and you didn't have any mobility aid and I was just like, Maria, what happened? How are you walking? We both got MS, and you started telling me. So go ahead and tell me how you now walk with no mobility aid after having to use one for how many years and how that avenue went, the path that you went to get to where you're at.
You know, I wish I had a better answer for you, but Brian, honestly, I was in tears. I went from the cane to the full rollator, the walker, and like I told you before, my back got so bad. I think maybe, sitting around isn't the best thing, but when you have MS, you don't really have much of a choice sometimes.
No, you don't. No, you
And
don't.
yeah, I guess I, must have messed up my back to the point where I was just flopping from, counter to table to wall. I couldn't support my torso. It was too painful. And my doctor just suggested to go see this chiropractor who worked across the hall from him, who did some magicy things for people. Like, he cured somebody's arrhythmia just through his spine. So I'm thinking, what do I have to lose?
Right.
And after 3 weeks of spine manipulation, I was walking, and I was walking without a cane. Right. I was able to walk a whole block and back all by myself.
Without a cane, without a walker, and that was in how many months of adjustments did that take for you to get your walking ability back?
It it took I'd say about 6 to 8 sessions, but I did the exercises. I walked around. I live in a cul-de-sac, so I would walk around the circle so I could always get back home. Because sometimes, you know what it's like. You go to walk somewhere and then you can't go back.
Right.
You can't come home.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's too far. Your legs just don't have enough juice left in them.
Exactly. So I can walk a block all by myself without any support.
That is
Which
so
sounds
awesome.
so trivial, but it's big. It's big for us.
That is huge. That is huge. I wish I can say that right now without if I can do that without using a cane or a walker. There's no way in the world. I could do that. It's just mind-boggling that you are up and upright and walking now after almost being in a wheelchair. Now,
Well,
I will say though, Maria, I mean, chiropractors aren't the cure for MS. I mean, MS, you still have it, and I mean that's never going to go away. And I don't think a a chiropractor can cure us, but he can definitely help us, or she.
well, I think too that some of the back issues aren't due to MS. When you think about it, if you're dragging one leg all the time, and sometimes my drop foot is so bad I can only go in circles.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think it's a disservice to ourselves to discount the fact that we do sit a lot, and it's just our natural position because it's safer. It's it's hard to walk.
yeah,
The balance is bad.
yeah. You don't want to
So
fall.
all that
Hmm.
it's so you're your own worst enemy when it comes to your back, but nobody tells you that. I I think I caught mine early, like as soon as I started to hit flop from furniture to wall to table to whatever. Um, that's when I saw Dr. Healy. So the damage wasn't so bad. But I would imagine if you're in that kind of pain for years upon years, it's a little bit harder to fix. But I think the damage that was done to my back and my ability to walk
Hmm.
was from me, not so much from the MS.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Maria. Because I have a spinal issue from back when I played football at the University of Michigan, and I fractured two vertebrae in my back. So I've always had back
Hmm.
problems my whole life since I was 20 or 19 years old. And, you know, I would have problems with my back. And then all of a sudden I got diagnosed with MS. And I asked my doctor what I should do. And he said, you know, you got to keep on working out and doing all that. You're in great shape. And that's the way I approached it. I'm like, I killed it with exercise, the MS.
Hmm.
I still use the DMT though. I mean, I've been on a DMT since I've been diagnosed. I'm not brave enough to stop them like you. Jeez, oh man. But I do think that exercise is huge, huge in trying to prolong the progression of the disease. What do you think about that?
Here's what I wish. I wish to God that, rec centers and things like that would have people to assist people like us. Because sometimes after, working on a machine, like especially with my legs, I have to like lift my legs up with my arms to get out of whatever I'm in. It's just,
Yeah.
it would be nice if there was somebody there to help people who couldn't help themselves.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you on that. And that's pretty much the reason I don't even go to a gym anymore. I mean, I haven't been in a gym in 2 years because it's been about 2 years since I've been, you know, I felt secure enough to go inside of a gym, walking around with a cane. But I just don't have the energy to go in and do a half hour workout and then get back out and get to my car and get home. My legs just don't, they don't work they don't work well enough to do that. So
Well, and
I totally understand that we have so many hurdles in front of us with having this disease and trying to get exercise.
that the MS swim class that they used to have at the Royalton Y,
Hmm.
I would go there. It's great. The water makes you feel like you don't weigh anything, which is exactly the opposite of how we feel every day. Everything weighs twice as much as it should.
Yeah, yeah. I tried water
But
aerobics for a little while. Yep.
well, when as soon as COVID happened, they killed the whole program and they never brought it back.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. COVID killed a lot of things.
well, it's sad because especially for people like us, it's harder to exercise in the real world. It's harder to do a lot of stuff in the real world,
Yes, it is.
but we try anyway.
Yeah, because we can't quit. You can't quit. When you get diagnosed with this disease, you can't just sit there and go, okay, I got MS, I'm done, right?
Well, exactly. And that's what makes me so ecstatic about getting rid of just a few symptoms. I feel like a success,
It's
like
huge.
my hearing,
Yeah, it's huge.
my hearing is back. My digestive system remains uncooperative, but is far more cooperative than it has ever been.
That is so
My
awesome, Maria. So what are some of the supplements that you use instead of using a DMT? What do you put in your body that's natural?
Well, I found for just cognitive repair, I guess, um, I take a lot of like myelin rebuilding type vitamins, like Shingolin is a good one. It's a myelin repair. I take bovine colostrum. There's a mushroom blend that I find particularly helpful because before I started it, I would be watching something on TV, and during the commercial, I would rack my brain trying to think of what it was I was watching just like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I still can't remember things sometimes, but I can certainly remember what program I was watching during
So,
the commercial.
so
And
how?
that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long has it been since you've been taking that supplement?
Right. I've been taking that one for about a year. And most of my other ones, like I do a lot of turmeric because I find that that helps with my inflammation
Hmm. Okay.
quite a bit, actually.
So you've been taking them for a year. Have you seen an improvement from where you were a year ago to where you are today?
The improvement is slight, but I'm ecstatic that I'm not worse than I was 5 years ago. I'm
Absolutely.
not worse than I was 10 years ago.
You're
So
you're better
even though
than
none of this,
you're better than you were 10 years ago, Maria.
oh, you flatterer.
Yeah, you are. I you just
No,
it
it's,
go ahead.
and none of it has been conventional because I think that there's a very, as far as medicine goes, and I'm not sure when it came. I assume it was with Obamacare, but everything is very, if this is what they have, this is how you treat it. If this is what you think they have, these are the tests you need to go through before you get to the test that will tell them what they have.
Yeah.
So it almost works against us. I don't know how to explain it, but I started to do my own research. I found people cured themselves of this. That Terry Walls lady, I looked her up the like about 5 years ago. She ran a marathon. She
Wow.
couldn't walk.
That's
So I know there's ways.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's definitely ways. I mean, I know so many people with MS that are doing amazing things. I mean, I worked for 26 years in the regular industry up until I wasn't able to do it anymore. But yeah, there's people that get diagnosed with this disease and they think that their life's over when they hear that diagnosis. And I just want them to know that this isn't a death sentence. It doesn't mean that you're done. You could still do a lot of things and be successful in life, even with a diagnosis like multiple sclerosis.
Look at an attitude. Like you haven't packed it in. You're looking to get better or at least not get worse.
Yep.
Um, there's some people that it's very hard for me when I see somebody, wrap themselves up in it like a blanket and just accept everything that's happening. I can't get in that headspace. I don't understand it.
I I
Um,
I'm with you on that, Maria. I have that attitude, and I attribute a lot of that from playing football at the University of Michigan. But I never quit. I mean, MS can like throw any kind of punches that it wants to at me. It can take away my legs. It could take away my hand, whatever. I'm never going to quit. I mean, that's a fact. And, and people, I just want people to understand that, to be, like a fighter like you, that they don't, you don't accept the answers that you're being told. So you research your own and go after them.
Oh, Brian, like the foot assist, honestly, when I went to the neurologist when I first found out I had MS, they set me up with all kinds of things that I absolutely need. And for my drop foot, I had to get this like carbon leg thing that would keep my foot in a L shape all the time.
Yeah.
And it was it was just under the knee where it attached. And every step you take, your pant leg just goes higher and higher.
I had one of
And
those.
it turns out,
I had one of those.
well, Brian, nobody told me that all I needed was a pair of shoes with a wedge. Like if you switch to cowboy boots with giving you that like extra inch up, you don't have drop foot anymore. A wedge on your shoe equalizes your foot. So I
Oh,
never needed that to begin with.
okay. All right. That's pretty.
But
I never would have thought of that, because I've never used that. I've never gone that route. That's interesting.
it works great. All of my shoes have a slight wedge, so the drop foot, my foot sort of hangs, and all it does is it takes the other foot and makes it exactly the same drop. Then you can walk. I don't know why I never thought of it.
So, do you have those attached to your shoes after you buy them, or do you do it yourself, or how does that work? The wedge.
The wedge is the shoe. The heel creates an
Oh,
incline for
okay.
your
So
heel.
you're talking for, like, it's like a female shoe. So I mean, I wouldn't be able to wear something like that. I got you.
But you could get like cowboy boots, and just the raise in the heel,
I don't.
it would be enough to counteract the drop foot.
I don't think
It's
my.
so easy.
I don't think the neuropathy in my feet would let me put a pair of cowboy boots on. That would drive me crazy. That pain, that neuropathy pain.
Well, there are some sneakers like Skechers that do have a little like air sole in the heel,
Mm,
and even that lift is enough to help you walk.
yeah,
It's crazy,
yeah.
but I didn't need that for me.
I've definitely had better luck with certain shoes than others. Like I can't wear Nike or Adidas anymore. I stick to Hoika. I don't know if you ever heard of those. Hoka, I think they're called. They're real
I've
stiff.
heard of them.
Yeah, they're real stiff shoes, but they're really comfortable on my foot. And those are the ones that I've had the best luck with the last few years, for that neuropathy. But yeah, it's.
You should check and,
Go ahead.
oh, you should check and see if there's like just even a slight rise in the heel. That might be why they're more comfortable for you.
That probably is true. Yeah, I never would have thought of that. So,
Yeah. So that
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so that $1,000 carbon foot lift thing was just a waste of money that I had to have. I had to have it. They sent me to get it,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was useless.
Yeah, it was pretty useless. I think I used it twice and I'm like, nah, I can't wear that thing. It wasn't comfortable at all.
But they give it to all of us.
Yeah, they do. Or they try to get it to all of us.
It kind of, yeah. I was just reading an article today about the new doctor that's going to head the NIH,
Uh-huh.
and I think his name is Bacharaya.
I'm not sure.
And
Go ahead.
I hopefully if it takes off, his system of medicine, it's not a one size fits all. He goes, every person's very different, and every person's solution to their issues is very different.
Mm.
So why do we treat them as one size fits all? So once that starts, I'm going to see, it's going to be wonderful because we're going to get answers, and it's going to be amazing
I'm looking
for
forward to
us.
it. It sounds like it's going to be great. Yeah, I'm hoping it is. Maria, I really want to thank you for joining me on my first episode. I really enjoyed talking to you. I really want to have you back on. I think you're full of so much great information that other MSers could use. And I definitely want to do this again if you would want to be a part of this again.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power. The more you know, the better off you're going to be. So if we can give just a little bit of insight to somebody who just hasn't reached the length of time we've been doing this, like the wedge shoe, if we can get somebody just an easy answer to fix an issue that's so simple to fix,
Yeah.
then it was all worth it.
Yeah.
So anytime you need me, Brian, I'm here for you and your audience.
I appreciate you so much, Maria. And I will post on my Instagram and TikTok the vitamins that you sent me that you use that helped you with the myelin that you are taking. So that if anybody...
Oh, sure.
Go ahead.
If I run into any others, I will, you'll be the first to know.
All right, Maria, I want to thank you so much for joining me, and I will talk to you the next time on MS Michigan Man 64. Thank you.